crafter friends, it's Sue and I'm back with another video. Today we're going to work on some Christmas decorations. Last year I made a video about the molds that I bought. I showed you, these are, sorry, they're really dirty because I'm not using these today, so I haven't cleaned them, but I showed you these. I showed you some smaller ones. I also got these larger ones in the pack. And I basically demonstrated that the molds worked and tried different techniques in them. But this year, what I'm working on is making them extra. I don't know what else to call it, but I want them to be extra. So I have my molds ready. They might look a little dirty and like they have shimmers and stuff on them. They've been cleaned, believe it or not. This is really old holographic flakes that just have a terrible time coming off of silicone for whatever reason. So I do have, I have cleaned them. Anyway, what we're going to be doing today is I went out to Hobby Lobby, and this is not going to show up probably very well on my camera, but I bought these confetti flakes. They were over in their party section. They were really inexpensive, and they're just all these different shimmery colors. Now I have confetti flakes that are very similar to these that I got in a package of like glitters and other things that I got on Amazon when I ordered some set of silicone molds probably forever ago. And I like these a lot because they show up great in resin. Obviously I don't want to use yellow in Christmas ornaments. And I don't have a lot of my other colors left. And I haven't had a really good time searching for them on Amazon or anywhere else in any kinds of colors. So I thought I would look in my local craft store, and they didn't really have anything either. So here I have what I did find. And although it's white, because of the holographic nature of it and the different colors that show up in it, I'm hoping that this is going to work really well. I've used white like this in previous resin products that I've made, and it's really looked nice. So that's what I'm hoping for. I also, and before I go into this, I'm going to pause here for a second. Welcome to all of you who are watching. I really appreciate you stopping by and taking a moment to share this video with me and watch this process and see if you can pick up something helpful or something that you'd like to try at home. I'm always looking for something new to try, so if you have any recommendations or thoughts or ideas of something you'd like me to try, please leave me a comment. If you enjoy the video, leave a like. If you're so inclined, go ahead and subscribe. It does help me out. I appreciate everybody that's stopping by for a second, third, or more time. And if you're a totally new viewer here, I like to experiment with different things and create new products, or not products, but create new creations and just have fun. So that's what we're all about here. So with no further ado, I did pick up this package of glitter at Hobby Lobby as well. And it has all different sizes and all different really pretty colors, and like some are holographic. So I think we're going to do one of the snowflakes with this. It's kind of like chopped up cellophane. If you've never seen it before, I'll open it up and show it to you in a second. And then we'll try two more with one of the glitters and see how they turn out. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and mix up some resin off camera. I'm going to get everything ready and we'll get into it. So I'll see you back here in a second. So I've got my resin all mixed up over here. I'm letting it degas, and I thought we'd take a little quick look at the glitter pack that we bought, just a little bit closer up examination. I just kind of wanted to show you that some of these are just pretty sparkle. Well, other ones like this black here, I've already taken the seal off of it, have a really pretty holographic effect in the black. You have the blacks over here that are, you have a black over here rather that's just got silver glitter in it. And then there's this really pretty kind of hematite color that's got really pretty holographics in that one as well. There's a yellow over here that's holographic. So you have a lot of holographic choices, plus you have a lot that are not holographic. So if you're looking just for a plain one, I like these little variety packs simply because they give you a lot of choices. So you can find something that'll suit your needs for just about any occasion. So I haven't really done many with kind of a silver theme to them. So I think I'm going to choose the silver with the hollow in it. This one over here. I'm going to go ahead and take the seal off now, just so that I don't have to do it with my gloves on. That's what that looks like inside. Okay. So we have that one. And which other one will I try? My mind keeps gravitating towards the green over here because, I don't know, there's just something really pretty about that green. So I think we're going to do the green. Then we have lots of other colors to play with at other times. But you can see this is not, not hollow. It's just got larger glitter flakes in there, but they're not holographic. So now that I've made those decisions, I'm going to remove this. They've got nice little sturdy things in here for you to carry them in, which is nice as well. All right, in addition to that, I've got my plastic cups ready. Oh, and I promised I would show you this too. So these are those cellophane flakes that I was telling you about. So that's kind of what it looks like up close. Hope that's focusing for you. So they just are almost like snow, kind of, but it's really just like cellophane. I can't really think of what the other word is. I know they call it something else besides cellophane, but that's primarily what that is. So we're going to use the green, the silver, and these little holographic cellophane flakes. I've got cups here ready to mix up my resin and my glitters with. I've made up about 5 ounces of my resin, and I mix up the 5 ounces because I know that I can use it in another project, as well as the fact that I don't know exactly how much resin these molds are going to take. So I do have extra here that I can put into another mold. So let me grab my gloves, put these on, and we will get started. Remember, always use your proper protection when you're working with resin, either a well-ventilated room, respirator. I always wear gloves. I just didn't have them on yet. All right, so my resin is mixed up. It does have some tiny microscopic bubbles in it that you can probably see in here, but that's okay. Once I mix the glitter in, you're not going to see that. So I'm going to divide this up. And I realize I'm totally in the way here. So I'm just pouring a generous amount into each one of these little plastic cups. I don't want to overfill because I want to be able to mix. And I do have some left over. So if I need more for the molds, I have it. The one thing that you want to make sure you do with these molds when you're getting ready to pour, well, if you're mixing resin and glitter, make sure you're mixing enough glitter that it stays where you want it to. There's a couple of different processes that I've heard that you can utilize to make this better. You can wait till the resin starts to thicken up a little bit before you pour it. Then mix in your glitter, and your glitter will stay suspended in the resin much more easily. If you have really thin resin, the glitter will tend to sink. So generally what I do, because glitter is not super expensive, what I will do is I will usually mix up quite a bit of the glitter into the resin. That way I've got a really good sparkle, and it always feels like you're mixing up so much, but then when you look at the bottle after you're done, you really haven't used as much as you think you have. So I think I'd work on this star snowflake first. So I've got my sticks here all ready to mix up. I'm just going to mix in that glitter. And it's going to be this really rich, deep green, which I absolutely love now that it's in the glitter or in the resin. It's even prettier than it was in the cup or in the bottle. Boy, why can't I use words once I get on camera? Like I told you, I get so sidetracked. Anyway, here's our mold, and I'm just going to fill it up. Not doing anything special at the moment. Filling it and encouraging it down into the tips. And once I think I have it somewhat level as far as being in the mold, I know I'm tipping it so it's going to run, but I'm trying to show you up close a little bit. Suppose I could bring you down just a little bit closer. I just don't want to get my hands and such in the way. There we go. Once I have it mostly as filled as I want it to be, get out of here, cat hair. Then I'm going to go down into the little side areas here with my stick and make sure the resin has been coaxed into all of those areas as best as I can get it. That will get out any trapped air bubbles and make sure that you don't have any little holes in the tips of your snowflake. I'm going to do it in the center as well because this glitter is pretty thick. I don't want it to trap any air bubbles even in the center part here. So I've just encouraged that all down in there. For the moment, I'm just going to let this sit. I haven't completely finished filling it up yet. I'm just going to put it off to the side, let it sit for a second, and mix up our next one. So the next one, I'm going to do this silver. And I wish I had names for you guys for this, for these different kinds of glitter. But they are in that pack of glitter, and they did not come with names, so I don't have them, sadly. But I will put the link, excuse me, to where you can find them at Hobby Lobby in case you're interested. So do the same thing here. And I know that we have more than enough resin mixed up for these snowflakes, so I will use them in some other project. I've got plenty of molds that I want to work on for this season. So now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just pour the resin into the mold. This one is a little bit more intricate. You can see the long pointy parts here. They can be a little tricky. So I usually just pour right into the tips after I've poured into the middle to encourage them all to fill up. And once I've done this, without overfilling it too much, because I still want to be able to get in there with my stick without causing the resin to run over the edges too much. You want to do these things as cleanly as possible so that you don't have a lot of cleanup to the resin after you take it out of the mold. I have learned that the hard way over the course of time as I've been doing this. So I'm just pushing the resin into these little corner areas. See if that's a better view. Trying to make sure, again, repeating myself, but make sure that I don't have air pockets. It's not going to always fix every air pocket issue that you might have, but if we can encourage it to get out. It also encourages the resin to flow into those little open areas a little bit better so that you don't have as much of a chance of getting air pockets, I guess is the best way to say it. So I poured quite a bit of this resin right into the center, and I'm just letting it ooze out to all the different parts of my piece. All right, I think we're good here, so I'm going to put this off to the side. And last but not least, we'll mix up our little flaky bits here. Now I realize I'm not doing anything super special here. This is nothing super creative or super experimental. I just really wanted to test out some different ideas in my resin for these kind of ornaments and stuff, because I find that having these ornaments on hand for the holiday makes like really quick gift ideas. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm off camera, I'm talking to you and I'm not paying attention. Makes really quick gift ideas. So if you have a teacher gift that you need to do, you need to give a gift to someone unexpected at the last minute, it's so easy to have these things handy. That way you can just wrap them up in a pretty bag or a pretty box with a really pretty ribbon, and they're ready to go. And I like to have a whole set of them ready to go so that they have kind of a theme, which is why I chose the green and the silver and this white here, because they're kind of generic. You know, I like different colors on my tree, but not everybody does. So if you have like a generic sort of color ready to go, then it makes it that much easier. So now I've got my last batch of resin for my snowflakes all mixed up, and I'm just pouring it into this mold. Now, one thing you have to pay attention to when you're using these cellophane, why can't I say that word? Cellophane flakes, or whatever it is that they're called, is that they're much chunkier than some glitter that you may be used to working with. So encouraging it to go into smaller spaces is going to be a little bit more difficult than you might be used to or than you might be expecting, especially when we get down here around the tip. So I've really filled up this mold probably more than I wanted to. So I'm going to scoop just a little bit of it out and put it back in my cup. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to clean up my edges to the best that I can. I may actually end up taking just a little bit more out because we still have just a smidge more than I want. So we'll do that because these glitter pieces will take up much more room than you think they do. Which is why I was really unsure as to how much resin to mix up. So I have more than enough resin. You don't need anywhere near that amount. You could probably quarter the 5 ounces that I made, and that would be totally fine. So I'm dipping into my resin cup over here of my clear resin that doesn't have anything mixed in it, and I'm pouring it up here into the ring where the ornament hangs from, so that I have resin up here in this ring part. So right up here, that's where I poured the clear resin, because I could encourage some of this to go up there, but with the glitter flakes in there, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do that. So again, I'm just taking my popsicle stick. I'm trying to clean up my edges as much as I'm able to. Get some of that excess resin off my stick. Coming up here, just getting this as cleaned up as I can. Going in here again into the points, making sure that I have good contact, that I don't have any trapped bubbles. Same in the center. And I think we are good to go with that one. I still have a little bit of excess resin, but let's see if I dip out one more time. Again, just being careful with this is going to help you in the long run. making sure you've got it as filled up as you can. So I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm going to come back to my green one over here. And some of the more microscopic bubbles have risen to the top, which is good. That's what I wanted. I'm going to scrape off some of this excess. And I'm going to add just a little bit more to this one because I didn't fill it up all the way. And when I'm filling my resin molds up, I'm usually leaning back in my chair and kind of looking at it with the light to see that the resin has gone all the way up to where I want it to go. You want to slightly overfill these because you want to avoid the little shallow parts where the resin might sink in. It might do a little dip like this. So you want to avoid those as much as you're able to. It's easier said than done. I don't find that that's always that I'm always able to avoid them, but I try to wherever I can, because then you don't have to top coat it or worry about after you've taken it out why there's sunken parts of your resin. So I'd rather have a little bit of spillage that I can clean up off the sides versus a lot of dips in my resin that I have to worry about filling after the fact, because that could be a little bit more tricky than just sanding. All right, so I have these all completed. I have a little resin on my gloves, so I'm just going to wipe that off, just so I don't transfer resin to other things. So I have these done. I think I'm going to pop them in my resin curing machine, and once they're done, we'll come back, demold them, and I'll share the results with you so you can see what these resins look, or what these glitters look like in these resins, to see if it's something that you want to use for some of your projects. So stay tuned. All right, so we are back. I just got these out of my curing machine. I'm sorry for the wobbliness. I've got this set up in my other room of my house so we can get a better idea of what these look like in actual daylight conditions versus under the lamps in my crafting space. So these are all cured. 2 hours under the crafting machine and they're all done. So I have been working on trying to get my UV resin machine as level as possible, but it still doesn't get level, still not level no matter what I do. So you can see this end down here is a little higher. This end has a little bit of a dip in it, as usual, no matter how hard I try. So I got to continue to work on that and make that better. This one turned out pretty okay. There's a little bit of raised areas over here. Not terrible though, nothing I'm going to sand down. A little bit of a divot here, but again, for ornaments, I'm not going to be worried about that at all. The only one that we had some significant spillage on is this one here. There's a huge blob down here. I don't know what happened with this one. But yeah, didn't turn out as nicely as I had hoped. There's some low places here that I will have to fill in. Sadly, it seems like everything just ran down there. So definitely something off with my machine. But what are you going to do? I'll have to fix it. This is what I'm hoping to help you guys avoid when you're doing your resin work. Just keep it as level as possible wherever you put it. It just prevents a lot of extra work at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and pop this first one out of here. These are fairly deep molds, so it takes just a little bit of work to get them out, but they're not hard by any stretch. The silicone is actually really nice. So there's that first one. And this is the silver that has like a color shifting, kind of that reddish color that you see right there. And then it kind of color shifts to green. and then to kind of a blue in between. So very pretty. I really do like it. Since this resin is still like, it's cured enough to get it out of the machine, it's not sticky at all. But since it is not completely cured for the whole like time that you would want to cure it for, it is still super bendy. So you can see I can bend and move that little nub on the end there. So this is the perfect time to cut that off and fix it before it gets too hard. But overall, I am, again, very pleased with this. I will come in with a little bit of extra resin on whatever project I do next to fill that in. But I don't have any air bubbles. There's no holes, no divots anywhere. So I'm overall very pleased with that one. Let's take the next one out. This is the one with the cellophane flakes, now that I have taught myself how to say that better. I do see one little air bubble, two little air bubbles, a few little air bubbles. This is not jewelry. It's not something that's going to be worn, so I'm not worried if there are a few air bubbles, just because it's going to be, you know, hanging on a tree or on a package as decoration. I don't know if that is picking up in the light in here. There, that looks like it's a little bit better. But see how those cellophane flakes make it actually look like a snowflake? So if you're going for a snowflake look, this is like the perfect kind of situation to go for, because it has that crystalline, snowflakey look to it, which is exactly what I was going for with this. So I'm very happy with this. And last but not least is our pretty green one. So I'm going to pop this one out. This one isn't as intricate, so it doesn't take as much to get it out. And that did turn out super pretty. I'm really happy with that. That green is gorgeous. All right, so there you have it. There's our 3 different snowflakes that we can get depending on the look that we're going for. This was a non-holographic green. This was the cellophane that's got that iridescence to it. And this is holographic, chunky and finer sized glitter. Okay friends, it's Sue from the future. I'm just coming back to add on a little bit to this video that we talked about yesterday, or that I talked about yesterday, but it's the same day for you. So here's the crystal snowflake that we made, and the green snowflake. And rather than stop where I was, because I really wanted to turn these into something a little bit more special, I have decided I'm going to make a 3-dimensional ornament, because these are flat. As you can see, they're very flat on the back. And then I'm going to have an added surprise that I'm going to do at the end, and I won't show you or tell you about that until I'm ready to do it. So I'm going to mix up some resin off camera, make these, and fill the molds, and then come back and show you when they're completed. I may or may not jump into the middle and show the sanding of this part. It might be something you're interested in, so we'll consider doing that. As promised, I'm going to show you really quickly how I do the sanding here. It's pretty straightforward. I think everybody pretty much does it the same way. But I have 120 grit sandpaper here. I'm using a pretty gritty texture. It's not a fine sandpaper is what I'm trying to say. I'm using a pretty gritty one because I don't want this to take forever. I want to get a fairly smooth back. I'm not worried about the back side of it, because once I'm done with the sanding and I sandwich the 2 pieces together, you're not going to see it. If it's really bad, then I will. But here I have the 120 grit sandpaper, some water that I've put onto the sandpaper to keep the dust from flying everywhere. And I'm just going to keep it flat on my table and just sand back and forth on it. And turn it every so often. As long as you're doing it flat like this, then you should end up with a fairly flat side once you're completed. Okay, it's getting there. Got a little ways to go yet, so I'm going to do the rest of this off camera and I'll show you the final results. Okay, so you can see that there's just this one little area right here that's still shiny, and that's okay. I decided to stop there because I don't want to file too much or sand too much of it more down. But I'm going to see if I can show you a little bit more up close and personal. Right along here on the outside of the snowflake, and up there and around here is all that sanded area. And that's good because those are going to be the connection points where one half meets the other. So as long as I've got a good seal around this part of it, and those are all flat when they match up, then I should be fine, and I should have a cohesive, solid, three-dimensional piece. All right, we have I shouldn't say all, we have the two sides of each one of our ornaments completed. So now we're going to do a little bit of adhering them together. They have all been sanded if they needed to be. This one was sanded, this one I didn't really need to. And then the same thing over here with the green side. One side is sanded. Did do a little sanding over here where I needed to. But once I put these two halves together, they go together pretty seamlessly. There's very, very little gap. There's a little tiny gap between here where I can put my fingernail in, but it's not terrible. And with a little bit of embellishments that I'm going to do, we're going to kind of cover that up. So there's our sparkly green snowflake. Same thing over here with the iridescent one. Just like this. So essentially we have a 3D image, so it doesn't matter which side it's facing, you're going to have the same look to it, which I really appreciate. So in order to make this what we need it to be, I've got some E6000, and I'm going to put a little bit of that E6000 into my little silicone bowl over here. So let's get to it. I have my glue. So I'm just going to quickly spread this on. Okay. Now I'm going to try to get this situated where I want to before, not that it's going to stick immediately because it won't, but it just helps if we get it kind of lined up where we want it to be. The E6000 will set up pretty quickly, but not so quickly that we can't get things lined up. All right. I think we look pretty good. So I'm going to set that off to the side. And we're going to do the same thing with our green snowflake. So I'm going to put some more glue into my pot over here. Like I said, E6000 is a great glue. It's very forgiving. It's a little bit like hot glue. It's very stringy, but it sets up quickly. It holds really well. Okay, let me get it in the middle here. And then I think we will be ready to go. Move my little pot and my stick out of the way. Get this centered. Plunk it down. And give it a little smush. Very good. I told you guys I have a little surprise at the end here, so you want to stay tuned to the end to see the entire thing. And if you have some glue coming out of the corners here, just give it a wipe with your fingernail or with a popsicle stick or paper napkin, whatever you want to use. Remember, these are handmade ornaments, so be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself. They're not going to be perfect. No one expects them to be perfect. If they were perfect, they would be machine made and not made by our hands. Alrighty, so while I give them a minute to set up, I'm going to push them aside and show you what I'm going to do next.